brown stock. A general term, right? Because it could be veal. This is a veal bone, right? Beef, which I'm demonstrating for you now, or lamb bones. But you could make a brown chicken stock. There's nothing wrong with that. Brown pork stocks are very, very nice. We don't use much of either of those in Western cooking, but I've used brown chicken stock a lot because I love the flavor of roasted chicken. And you make like a roasted chicken noodle soup or something like that is very, very nice. If you remember in the chicken stock too, we had carrot, celery, and onions, 50, 25, 25. That never changes. What changes here is the tomato paste, which we used in Pinsay, red wine, and a little oil, which is different than chicken stock. What we got is just a generic bottle of red wine. Now, if you've been in my wine class or you've seen the wine video, there's definitely ways of opening bottles of wine. And one way of opening it, if you're in the back of the house, is that you just kind of muscle off the top. You just take off the capsule, you throw that away. This is for a kitchen. This is designed to use many bottles many times. It's a large handle for pulling things up, right? So it's, once again, not very pretty as opposed to like wine service. But if you're opening up 24 bottles of wine, yeah, you want something like this that's not going to cut your hand, that you can use. Same principle. You take it. Let me get a little closer. In the wine class I demonstrate, you take the point, you put the point in the center, then you turn it up. That guarantees you to get it into the center. It's hard to see there, but if it's not in the center, you could end up breaking the cork. Snapping it in, snap, 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 up to the shoulder, just to where it disappears. And put it between your legs and pull. All right, very easy. Once again, one bottle here. Now, if you're going to be opening up 24 bottles, you're going to really like to have one of these. If you have the Wader ones, the Wader bottle openers are very thin. It's, once again, buy cheap, you get cheap. This is not a very expensive one, but it's a very good professional one. It's very heavy. Comes with a case. Put it back in there. You got the cork. You take the cork and you cut it. Just cut a V onto it like this. Cut it flat, flat. You put it in, and you have yourself an automatic pourer. Okay. So we're going to use the red wine. Right. Now, basically everything is pretty much the same at this point except for cooking times. We're going to have a sachet of spice, which are going to be 2 bay leaves, 2 garlic crushed, parsley stems, 2 sprigs of fresh thyme, and 4 peppercorns. Once again, this doesn't really change that much. If you have more bones, obviously, you're going to add more meal pork, more sachet of spice. It's all about ratios. And the key point is just don't overkill it with one flavor. You might like garlic, but not everybody wants it. Plus, a stock is not the end product. If you notice, stocks don't contain any salt. Right? We don't put any salt in there. So it's only the beginning. Once again, rinse and dry the bones. I showed you that. We wash them quite well. I actually rub them quite well because of the bone dust. And I just pat them dry. Right? We roast them in the oven. Okay, what I got here is 2 kilos. We have 2 kilos of beef bones. Now this strapping you see a lot. This is very common strapping. And you see a lot of times people cutting them like this and stuff like that. You don't really have to. These things kind of open very easily. You just flip them over, you grab that tab, and you pull. Okay? The less you're using knives cutting things, the less the chance of you cutting yourself. It's as simple as that. These things basically just pop right off. So let's see what we got. Marrow bones. Marrow bone. Look familiar? Yeah, that's a nice size one too. And if you look at it closely, you can see a lot of this dust, bone dust, because these are cut on bandsaws by machine. They're very, very dusty. That's for sure. So what the first step you're going to do is you're going to rinse the bones. So these are nice bones. These are really nice bones. Once again, you can smell it. It should smell like steak. It shouldn't smell
off, rancid. Rancid means spoiled, because a lot of times people look, a lot of times the stuff does not handle that well. These are marrow bones. This is like a fatty item in here. You'll see after I roast it, half of this will shrink away. And this was actually used for a garnish in French consommes. It's like a chewy little rubber thing. Marrow bones are hard to find. Usually when you order beef bones, usually you end up with this kind of. Ooh, look at that. We got some gogi on there. That's good. These are usually what you get. But marrow bones are usually a specialty item. Like I said, in the West, if you order stock bones, you're going to be getting this type of bone. This has a lot of fat on it. Now, don't worry about the fat or trimming or anything like that. But these are marrow bones. These are great for soups. That's for sure. Rinse in cold water. Rinse well. Don't worry about like any kind of like this kind of fatty or anything like that. That's going to help brown it because we're going to be making a brown beef stock. Now, generally there's two major groups of stocks, which we'll talk about later in class: white stock and brown stocks. But usually with beef, it's usually a brown stock. White stocks are good, but browns, obviously, I think you understand. Toast tastes better than bread, so browning is very important. Get the dust out of here, I say. Take a clean towel, make sure it's clean, and pat dry. Just get rid of this. You're not going to sit there and rub it. No, just get off that excess moisture. Because you're going to put this in the oven and brown it. More water, more problems. It'll take more time too. So this isn't really a good roasting pan. This is a hotel pan. This is actually not even really made for roasting. But we don't have anything appropriate size for this. I do have a nice roasting pan that I bought. Because a lot of times you can fit 4 chickens in here, 3 ducks. It's great for roasting big pieces of meat and things like that. But what's interesting is a tteokbokki pan. That's what it was used for tteokbokki. So once again, you should have an appropriate size. This is a little too big for what we need. This is a little too thin for that. I have a page we're going to talk about using the oven, how to use the oven correctly. As you can see, there's moisture, but don't worry, the oven's going to take care of that. Take any kind of oil. This is actually olive oil, but you can use any type of oil. Not a lot, just enough. What you want to do is promote even browning. You want everything to brown nice and even. But you don't want to coat it in oil because you'll see it'll turn up a lot of oil itself. And by doing this too, you're gonna feel if there's any more bone dust. This is very clean. Bone dust can be a problem. Now I'm gonna spread it out evenly. And we're gonna okay, we're ready to go for the oven. The oven's preset to 180. That's 350 Celsius, 180 centigrade. We're going to cook these probably for about 15 minutes, toss them, 15 more minutes, and then we'll go on to the next step. Okay, oven. This is a very nice oven. It has steam, dry heat, combination, thermometer, and something I'm not really that familiar with. I don't know what it is. I already preheated the oven. As you can see in Oven 101, always preheat the oven. Right? With this oven, you can hear it slightly. There's a fan in there. So when opening it up, you stop. Let the fan finish, and then open it. Before you put anything in there, make sure to test the rack for strength. You don't want to take something and put it in and have it fall down. That's going to be a problem. Always try to put it in the center, middle and center. Okay? So preheat, test the rack for strength, place it in the middle and center. Okay? Here I'll go with our bones. This is going to give off a lot of moisture on this. Now, these ovens are dangerous because of the fan. When this is cooking and the steam builds up, it's going to, if you open it up too fast, you'll get a steam burn. You'll see up here, you'll see steam coming out. Once again, so before you open it up, just take a look to see what's going on. This has a very nice built-in thermometer for large roasts. This is a very nice oven. This thing is about 15 years old, and it's in wonderful shape. It still works. It has a little water for cleaning. Very, very clever. It's a Japanese make. This comes out for cleaning. This whole glass panel comes out for cleaning. Very cleverly made item. Pause. And it snaps closed. It's wonderful. Okay. Center on. Close it. Does have a timer if you need the timer. I'll just keep an eye on it. About 10, 15 minutes. I'm going to take a look at it. We'll probably toss the bones again, and then we'll do the next step. Okay. We have the beef bones in here. We washed them, pat dry, lightly oiled, put them in the oven. And once again, this is a convection oven. There's a fan going there. You can't really see any steam coming up, but I'm sure it's there. I'm sure it's hot. Look at that way. It's in. Opening this, all convection ovens. Let the fan stop and open it up. If you don't, you can get a steam burn. If you have contact lenses, they're known to pop out from the steam. So once again, you have to be very careful. Here, when moving anything from the oven, make sure the door's open all the way to as far as it can open. That's for sure. Try to avoid this. A lot of guys do this, and if it's heavy, you have to do it. That's the only problem. But that's where you end up burning yourself. Just slide it out to the side, grab it in the center, and bring it over. All right. Carrying heavy things, heavy hot things, corner to corner is a very nice, stable way of carrying something through a kitchen. This way is not because it's uneven. This is good, but very wide. So corner to corner is much safer, much more stability. You have a bigger grab point too. Here small, here big. So once again, look at how much oil came out of that. That's a tremendous amount of oil. That comes from the marrow bones. But we're going to leave that oil in there for now. We don't need the water. We're going to turn the bones. Breaking them free. This is nice color. We're not done yet. We're just browning the bones. After this, what we're going to do is cut up the mirepoix, get that ready. Flip the bones. Be careful flipping them, but you don't want to splash the oil onto you. Yes, it is hot. I know you all guys, oh, yeah. The kitchens are hot. That's nice. That's when it had all the meat on it. Nice color. Nice color. Marrow bone. Let's tell you about marrow. That's the marrow of it. This is used as a soup garnish. Very nice. Cook a little more. See, it's very, very hot. Flip it over. Put it back in the oven. At this point now, about another 10, 15 minutes, that's all. It's browned very, very nicely. This oven is much faster than the regular oven. If we put it in the other oven, it would take us 3 hours. This is going to take us an hour to do that. Once again, 180, 350. Hear the fan taking off. Running nice. Okay, great. Bones are out of the oven. Nice brownness to it. What we're going to do now is get rid of some of the fat. The grease is good. We'll add a little too much of it. Nice. These little brown bits, this is all fine. Nothing wrong with this stuff. This is what we want. It's called a fond, F-O-N-D. What we're going to do here is take this off. Leave the little bits in there. They're fine. You can see the color of this is actually what you would call lard at this point. It's cooked lard. It's a little different. We got some fond on here. What we're going to do is put the bones back and take a little tomato paste. And as I said earlier in the video, this is called pincé. We're going to take this paste. You don't have to rub it on every bone. You just want to rub it on some of the bones. We're going to lightly brown it. Now, ultimately, this brown stock could be more sauces than, I would say, soups. Unless you do like a French onion soup or a soup that requires a brown stock. One thing I said earlier when we talked about chicken stocks is that you're going to use chicken stock for most soups. Brown stock, 90% of the use, demi-glace. So tomato is a very important key flavor ingredient in demi-glace. This is called pincé, and you'll see it on the recipe. You look at the recipe, you'll see the term. A little more. So the idea is to spread it out thin so it browns, well, relatively quickly. How long? This about 10 minutes in the oven. Not much longer at all. Now, once again, the key point is to brown it, not to burn it. Burning is not a good flavor. Okay, there we go. And this into the oven. Yeah, it's still a little warm. Okay. Added the tomato paste and lightly browned it. I'm going to remove the bones. Actually, okay, I'll put it in this pot for now. I'm going to need a bigger pot, obviously. You can see this pot's a little too small. A little too small, so I'm going to get a bigger pot, but that's okay for now. I'll use a stainless steel pot for that. Okay. Put that to the side. Mirepoix, celery, carrots, onions, once again. That doesn't change much, that's for sure. It's actually spicy. I've worked a place where you put rosemary in there. Remember how to cut these? Composé, just rough chop. Now we're going to brown these in the oven, so a little bigger is not bad. That's for sure. Carrot, I'm not going to need this much carrot. And the onion. Now, it's definitely suggested not to practice your knife cuts on the onions because you want big pieces.
This is not really edible, but it's perfectly fine for this. If you notice, I'm going for big pieces. Oh, excuse me. What I'm going to do is just break it up so it browns evenly. Now with beef stock, with any kind of beef, onions is not a bad flavor group, that's for sure. They don't put the sachet of spice in here. We're going to only brown the mirepoix. If you brown the sachet of spice, it's going to burn. Just kind of coat everything with oil. And now we're going to put this in the oven. How long? No, 15, 20 minutes. It depends. We'll see what it does. And off to the oven.
Okay, now we're browning the mirepoix. And in there we took the bones out, put the bones into a pot, started the simmering process. Now, as this is going into the roasting. You see right now, they're starting to cook. Onions are starting to brown. Let's spread it out. Another 5 more minutes and we'll be done. Okay, as we're browning the mirepoix, I took the bones out and I'm going to put them into a pot. So you're going to transfer the pot. The stainless steel, 8 hours is definitely a better thing. See, nice browning. A little black. Don't worry about that black. That's fine. That's going to give it a barbecue flavor. Let's dump that in. I just use that to rinse out this pot. And I'm going to cover the bones with water. As you can see already, the color of the stock is already a light tea color. Zoom closer in. Already has a nice natural brown color to it. Now, since this is cooking for 8 hours, you're going to go about 2 inches over the bones. I don't know how many centimeters that would be. But. And like with chicken stock, we're going to bring it to a boil. As you can see right now, we got a chicken stock still simmering. And both stocks you're going to be skimming as we're going along. The simmer's a little high right now, but we're ready. This has been now cooking for 3 hours. As you can see, it has a nice color to it. Very nice color. Oh yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. It's good to taste. Oh yeah. It's very important to taste your stocks. Step 1, step 2. I wouldn't necessarily recommend tasting the beef stock at this point because it really doesn't taste anything. But you can see the nice color to this. This is going to be very, very nice stock. This is very, very nice. Well, I used the wings in there. That adds a lot of flavor. Now that's been going for 3 hours now. I'm going to add the mirepoix. 50, 25, 25. We don't stir stocks either. That's another thing we just don't seem to do. They say it makes it cloudy. Okay, then the sachet of spice. Whoops, I didn't crush the garlic. Unceremoniously. Yeah, you can leave the tips on there too. A lot of places use this for the stocks. If you're using it if you're going to use the garlic for something else, a lot of times that goes into stocks. I don't know. Garlic's cheap. Garlic's cheap in Korea. Just crush it lightly. That's all you have to do. Stems, sprig. I know it's kind of difficult, but there is a difference. And if you look on the internet or you look up recipes, you should know the difference between that. Some stems, some bay leaves, 2 is fine. Crushed garlic. I use a lot of thyme, but to me, chicken and thyme is a very nice flavor. And peppercorns, which is, once again, a good flavor. Adding your mirepoix, what you do, again, is bring it to a quick boil just to kill off any bacteria that is naturally present in the onions, carrots, and celery. All of it has a certain amount of bacteria. You can see now it's almost impossible to skim it because if you skim it, you're going to be pulling up your sachet of spice. Just patting everything down. Okay, here we go. We got our mirepoix, we got a sachet of spice, and we got a very, very, very nice brown stock simmering here. And it's a little red right now, but that's kind of natural for it. I skimmed this a few times. This is now, let me see, it's 5.5 hours. It went 5.5 hours. That's pretty good. You see the oil still coming off it. It's quite a lot of it. Yeah, that's a very nice color. See, now that'll, you know the term ipmul? Right now I look at this, I go, yeah, this is nice. Give it a little taste. Oh, very nice. Well, 5 hours, 5.5 hours does bring out a lot of the beef flavor. That's for sure. But it's a beef flavor. It's well, I guess it's the tomato too. But once again, you're making a stock, and you're not making. Korean beef stocks are basically just the beef itself. Okay, what we're going to do now is deglaze the pan. I need to do this one. Very, very low heat. Well, for 2 reasons. This pan's very thin. It's a very thin pan. It's easy to burn, so you turn it on low. Not fry it per se, but kind of get it. That is nice. Take out our red wine with a handy dandy pour and deglaze. This is where chicken stock separates. If we're doing a white beef stock, which there are such things, but not very common, you wouldn't use red wine and you wouldn't brown the mirepoix. What I'm going to do is basically clean this pan with the alcohol. Now you can use whiskey, you can use any kind of, you can use water if you don't want to use alcohol. But the wine adds a lot of flavor. Now if you think about the cooking times, we're talking, this would have been 5 hours now, 5.5 hours. It would be 6 hours by the time we get done here, adding this stuff. And then cooking for another hour. It's a very expensive process. It's extremely expensive. Not just the gas that you use, but the bones itself, the mirepoix, the skill, the roasting time. Beef stocks, demi-glace, real demi-glace is very expensive. And I think you can understand why. Even good chicken stock, cooked for that many hours, takes a lot of time. Let's see if I got a paddle. Maybe this a little better for scraping this clean, that's for sure. You want to spend the time doing this because there is an awful lot of flavor on the bottom of this pan. and color. Because once again, we're going for a natural color. You can see it's not wine red anymore. It's more of a brownish color. Give it a taste. A little more red wine. What I want to do is not flambe, but what I want to do is reduce the alcohol content. So I want to bring this to a nice simmer. While that's simmering, I'll sachet the spice, parsley stems, thyme sprigs, peppercorns, bay leaf, and crushed garlic. Turn it off, let that cool a little before I move it. Looking at the clock, yeah, okay, we're there. 5 hours, 45 minutes. That works. And we add. Now this is where a lot of the color is going to be coming from, especially from the caramelized onions. And there's a certain sweetness to it, a natural sweetness. Dishwashers love it when you can clean the pan that well. You still want it to look like before and now. It's fairly clean. Take the ends, scrape it in. Okay, then once again, even though everything's cooked, you want to bring everything to a boil again. You see, there's a fair amount of oil on the top. As long as you don't boil it hard, it'll be fine. Now this is going to simmer for 1 more hour. So the total is 7 hours on this particular batch. Now, some chefs do this overnight. Some do it. You have to do it for hours. That's for sure. Generally 6 to 8 hours is acceptable rule on that. Okay. We're going to let this go, and I'll occasionally try to skim it because there's a fair amount of fat. But once again, you don't want to pull up the mirepoix either. You're going to grab some of it, but it's better to let it cool and skim at this point. Just don't boil it because then it will turn white, and you really... Once again, in Western cooking, you really don't want a white stock. You want a nice brown stock. And that's turning a beautiful color. Let's take a look at that. Look at that. Very, very nice.